Okay, now that you've gotten good at factoring trinomials that have an a coefficient greater than 1, let's take the next step. The next step is anytime you factor any polynomial, the most basic and very first thing you should look for is a GCF. Always look for a GCF first. When I did that guess and check method, I said that you couldn't have a GCF in any of your binomials. And that's because if you had a GCF in your binomial, that meant your original polynomial had a GCF. And you should always factor that GCF out first, that original GCF from the entire polynomial. And then you'll factor what's left over. We did that when we had the first section of trinomials, but the GCF was always just whatever the a coefficient was, and then there was an a of 1. This time, when we're going to factor out the GCF, we're still going to have an a coefficient left that's greater than 1, and we'll have to continue factoring. So let's take a look. 4x squared plus 26x minus 48. If I look at these three numbers, the greatest common factor of those three numbers is 2. So I'm going to take that GCF of 2 out first. And I'll divide it out of each term, and I'll leave the trinomial in parentheses. That leaves me 2x squared plus 13x minus 24. And now my trinomial that's inside the parentheses is going to still be able to be factored, or it may still be able to be factored. In this case, it will. But I have an a coefficient that's greater than 1. So now I have those three options. I have the multiply a times c and then factor by grouping. I have the slide, divide, slide. Or I have the educated guess and check. Like I've been telling some of you, I prefer slide, divide, slide, so I'm going to do that. But this GCF you pulled out first, this 2, that's going to stay for the whole problem. That's going to be part of our final answer. So I'll keep that out there. And now I'll do slide, divide, slide. I'll take this 2, and I will slide it to the c. So now I'll rewrite this as x squared plus 13x minus 48. And now I need factors of 48 that are going to subtract to make 13. Well, 8 and 6 are the factors everybody thinks of, but 8 minus 6 is not 13. 12 and 4 is another pair. Well, 12 minus 4 is not 8. One of the lesser known pairs of factors of 48 is 16 and 3. So that's what's going to make my 13. I'll keep my GCF that I pulled out originally on the outside, that 2. Don't lose this guy. That's a very common mistake to lose that guy. I'll set up my 2 parentheses with my x's. I know that my factors of 16 and 3 multiply to make 48 and subtract to make 13. And when I subtract to make 13, I need a positive 13. So I need a positive 16 and a negative 3. I did my slide. Now I'll do my divide. I'll divide these numbers by the 2 that I slid originally. And now I will get a final answer by doing my last slide step. I'll keep that original 2 on the outside. Well, there's nothing to slide here because this simplifies. 16 divided by 2 is 8. So therefore, this is just x plus 8. And then nothing simplifies here, so I'll slide this guy up. And my third factor is 2x minus 3. So now my answer has a GCF out front, and then 2 binomials. All right, I'm going to do a few of these. Here's our second one. 8m squared minus 44m plus 48. Big numbers, but the GCF of all three of these numbers is 4. I'll divide that 4 out of everything. And that'll leave me 2m squared minus 11m plus 12. Much more workable numbers than we had before, that 8 and the 44 and the 48. So now I like to do slide, divide, slide. So I'm going to take this 2 and slide. The 4 stays for the entire problem now. The 2 is gone. Now it's m squared minus 11m. And that 12 just became a 24. And I need factors of 24 that add to make 11. 8 and 3 would be my pair. So I got a 4. I got an m. And another m. Or I'm adding to make 11 because my c value is positive. 8 and 3 are my two factors. Both of my signs are negatives to make that negative 11. And now I got to do my divide. The number I did the slide with was 2. So I'll divide both of these by 2. Notice that 4 on the outside, nothing happens to it after I've done that very first step. It just keeps on coming down as part of my answer. So my final answer is going to be 4 times, well, I'm not going to do anything with this because that simplifies. 8 divided by 2 is 4. So this parentheses is m minus 4. No simplify here, so I'll slide that back up. And I get 2m minus 3. Ta-da! And last but not least, a little bit trickier here. I look at this and I say, well, 4, 19, and 21 don't have any common factors, especially because 19 is prime. So what's my GCF? Well, the problem with this trinomial is that the a value is a -4. And we don't want a negative as an a value. We want a positive a value. So that means that my GCF, to make that positive, is going to be -1. I'm dividing -1 out of all of this. That's just going to take everything that's positive, make it negative, and everything is negative, make it positive. So this is now a positive 4t squared, a negative 19t, and a positive 21. All right? That -1 is just going to come along for the ride. I'm going to slide, divide, slide. I'll take this 4 and slide it there. That means my trinomial is now t squared minus 19t plus 84. This is one of those cases where the c value is now pretty big. 84's got a lot of factors. And I'm trying to add to make 19. Well, first thing I think of at 84 is 4. 4 times 21 doesn't add to make 19. And I don't know many other factors of 84, but guess what they are? They're 7 and 12. 7 times 12 is 84. 7 plus 12 is 19. This is one of those cases where the guess and check might have been more effective because most of you don't know that 84 has factors of 12 and 7. But sometimes one option works better than the other. I'll fill in my t's. My factors are 12 and 7. 12 times 7 is 84. 12 plus 7 is 19. Both signs are negatives in the parentheses. Now I got to finish up my slide, divide, slide. I did slide. Now I'll divide by that 4. And my final answer is going to be -1 on the outside of these parentheses times. This simplifies to become exactly 3. Nothing to slide there. T minus 3. This does not simplify, so I'll slide it up. 4t minus 7. All right. Once you did that GCF, everything else is still the same. Like I said, you can choose any method you want. If you want to do a times c and then factor by grouping because that's what you like best, go for it. If you're a guess and checker, guess and check away. Come up with factors of 4 and factors of 21 and guess them and check them. That comes down to your personal preference. All right? Good luck on your lesson today.